If you've tried therapy, if you've tried couples counseling and you've tried all these things and it's still not working, get a divorce. Hello and welcome to episode 3 of Liquid Love, a podcast on self-love, creativity, and authentic living. I'm Nandini.
And I'm Mnayitre. Today we'll be talking about a good life on paper.
What's going on with the glasses?
This is the good life, my eyes are very expressive, so I don't always want to show it. When I'm having a bad day, when there are things that I don't want to reveal, I would rather wear sunglasses.
I see. So, you can't really hide who you are thanks to your eyes.
Well, I can try them.
You can try with the sunglasses.
I can try with the sunglasses.
All right, cool. So, speaking of a good life on paper, what is traditionally a good life on paper? What do you think?
A good life on paper is something, while growing up, something that I thought would bring me stability, bring me a normal life, bring me a sense of satisfaction and success.
So for me, that sort of question came up right after my father passed away. Literally, he passed away in my early 20s, and a whole bunch of relatives came. And they told me that since your father worked for the government, now you might be able to enter the government because there's some sort of scheme where, if somebody who's working for the government passes away, their children or one of their family members can actually enter the government. So half of my family was like, go for it. This is a huge opportunity. Usually people have to study for years and years to get that chance, right? But my whole life, I never wanted to have a desk job because that's what I saw my parents do. They had a desk job. And yes, I completely understand the benefits of that, I've got some notes over here, which I'm going to refer to. So they kept telling me that, Nandini, you'll be secure. And what does secure mean? Secure is, financial security. There's the job security because most government workers don't get fired as easily as corporate workers do. And also that rhythm of life, every day you wake up, you go work for 8 hours and you come back home. So there is a security and a rhythm that's very reliable with that too. And also you'll be working with good people because, the impression is if you are working for the government's full of good people on paper. So while I did to an extent understand that in my early 20s and now being 30, I understand that even more, the value of that. I had to really ask myself, if I do say yes, if I do go for this opportunity, what will I be sacrificing? So I've written over here, what is the cost of following someone else's advice, someone else's direction, at the expense of your own heart, your own desire, your own strength and sensibilities, of even your own mental health, of your own creativity, your freedom, and so on. So what do you truly value? And what are your priorities in life? Because I think if you think about who you are, what your sensibilities are, what your priorities are, what is written on paper to be good may not work for you, or it may.
I think for me, my priorities, if I go by what you are talking about, my priorities didn't have any place for me in it. So it was flawed at a very core level. My identity was largely based off of the people I loved, and which was primarily my family, my mom, my siblings, and obviously extended family, whom we shifted in with after my father passed away.
And which was at a very young age.
Which was at 7. If you want to know more, you should watch the other episodes, please.
Wait, I was just gonna say, when you're talking about your identity, right? And you're prioritizing yourself. Yeah. So podcast episode 1 and 2 are on that. Yes. You can have it, you can see it in one of the corners. Yes. And I highly recommend you check that out.
And if you want to really deep search me, then you should go check on my playlist on my channel. where I talk about a lot of things about, identity, how I came to this point where I am today, so on and so forth. So at that point of time, so my good life on paper was always, generally speaking, I was reaching for normalcy, because while growing up, my life was anything but normal. And so in my head, normal equals stable. And so that's what I was reaching for. So anything that I could see around me that I thought was normal, I was like, okay, that's what I want. So for me, job was stability. Job was normal. And I was never, while growing up, I was never a person who wanted anything for herself, in the sense that I didn't have any ambition in terms of career. I was very ambitious in terms of relationships, in terms of what I wanted to provide for my family, how I wanted to have a family, blah, 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 which completely flipped somewhere down the line. And so that is what I was reaching for, that sense of normalcy, which was like, have a job. So for me, job was enough. I didn't, the life I live today, I'm living the opposite, which is my dream life. My life right now is the opposite, because I am a full-time creative performing artist. I'm living a very, 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 very flowing, very uncertain, which is the opposite of what I thought is the basis of stability. Because now I define my stability in a very different way. It doesn't depend on my relationships. Stability doesn't depend on job, anything else. It's something else within me. We'll get to that.
You know what? I think now's the time. So I have a little bit of like a homework exercise for you guys, which we would love to read in the comment section. But I told Mnayitre when we were doing this episode, when we decided that we're going to do this episode, I've got some homework for you. And that homework was, if you could rewrite what your good life or perfect life on paper is, what would you put down? Okay. Because I think we haven't even mentioned it yet, but it's worth mentioning that traditionally speaking, a good life on paper is basically what is considered widely as normal. You grow up and you're supposed to do really well in school, then you're supposed to attend a good college, and you're supposed to get a great job. And as soon as you get a job, or soon after a job, you get a very loving spouse.
You get married,
right? And then you have a beta and a baby, a son and a daughter, right? So the son and daughter, and then you just
that's a good life on paper.
I mean, over there, well, then there's the next step, which I'm now getting to experience, where your children grow up and then they have to follow the same thing so that you can become grandparents, right?
Yes. And before I die, I should play with my grandparents. What? Sorry. Before I should die, I should play with my grandchildren. And that's how, this idea now is so absurd to me that I can't even put it in a straight sentence, because that is how different I've become as a human being.
Yeah.
That is how, paradoxically, and to my satisfaction, the further I got from my old version of a good life on paper, the more satisfied I got, the more stable I felt, the stronger and more empowered and free I got. So we can unfold that as our conversation unfolds.
Yes. Yeah, so like for you, now that you're saying this is the satisfaction. So what does, in Maitre's new paper, what is your good life? Like, what makes your life good, or what do you see your life being?
For me, the primary thing is connection. I won't even call it love. I will call it a sense of connection. And that I'm not even referring to one single person or a group of people, my sense of connection with the universe. So whenever, and the word I would use is alignment. Whenever I feel aligned in a moment, because there is no, and it changes every day, every day.
Like today, what's a good life on paper for you?
Today, literally the day that I'm living, whatever is happening while we are filming this is a good life. I'm filming with people I respect, I care about, I love, I feel safe with, most importantly. Like our energies are mutual. I'm doing something I love. I'm connecting to all of you people. I'm sharing my story, my ideas, and not in a preachy way, but just, saying that this is me, I'm sharing my story. And I hope that in some way it encourages you to share your story and stand in your truth. This is a good life for me.
So I'm sort of deviating here, but the reason why I even wanted to do a podcast in the first place is like when I was younger, I needed this. I needed to know that there was an alternative to the so-called good life on paper. The path that has been, we've all been told this is the way. But in my case, having grown up in different parts of the world and
Mm.
everything, like it wasn't very straightforward. I had all of these weird constraints. Like everyone around me is like, applying to university here, but
Yeah.
I know my parents can't afford the university here.
Mm.
So then I'm like, then what do I do?
Yeah.
And neither did they guide me. I have to
Yeah.
be very honest. I'm sorry for, if my family does see this. But I had no guidance, I had no sense of support or even just anyone who was sharing that struggle. And I'm sure it's the same for you because, having heard your story in the first two episodes and also in our private conversations, being anyone who moves around a lot or
Yeah.
is different in some way,
Yeah.
like I'm just sort of speaking for you here, but you're from a Bengali family who grew up in Punjab and then moved to Dehradun,
Can read and write Punjabi.
right? So it's just and I also believe that we're not unique in this because
Yeah.
why is it that I keep meeting people who are like me and who've had to figure everything out themselves,
And the best thing is, the one thing that I like is on the surface, we've led very different lives.
Yeah.
Because they've been moving around countries. I haven't. But the sense of instability or insecurity and the feeling of feeling lost and confused and weird and, realizing all these pressures, they look different. I grew up majorly with a single parent.
Yeah.
They didn't. But
No.
what goes on the inside, and I've dealt with so many cases in the past where I understand that things like abandonment issues and insecurity and self-worth, things like that, uh, it's the same for everybody.
I always say this like in my videos as well on my channel, but it's always just chemicals that are in our body. It doesn't matter what you're scared of, like whether it's a chipkali, like a lizard, or if it's like a stranger coming at you in the dark. In the end, the fear is just chemicals in your body. And this is where also it's very stupid to compare struggles. It's very stupid to compare like, oh, you have this trauma, but my trauma is worse.
Yeah, you can never.
Because at the end, trauma was trauma, like, and it affects different people differently. No two people live the same lives, not even twins.
Yes, absolutely.
But we all have to deal with it in some way. So what's happening with me is like maybe because I strayed so far away from the path of the good life on paper, is like I feel like now my dreams and my aims are going back to the regular paper where I do want to have a spouse, at least in that respect, yes. But okay, so I think for me, a good life on paper right now would be to not feel like I have to do, well, this is more of a mindset thing, but I would like to, gosh, I feel really vulnerable sharing this. I don't know if I want to share it.
It's okay. It's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay. You don't need to. You don't need to. But
I know we have to because now that I've mentioned it, I've got to say it. Okay, guys, don't judge me. Okay, I'm supposed to be all weird, but I want something kind of normal. Like, yeah. So I would love to meet a partner who is like really compatible with me. I would like them and me to have jobs where we can travel, but I would like them to have a job that requires them to travel so that I can travel with them.
Yeah.
I would also like, and like this is also where because I'm in the manifestation space and I'm like a life coach and stuff, but I need and want people to be super specific about what they want. So when you said you want alignment, you're living your best life right now, it makes sense to me because I was also thinking this last night. It's like I feel like I'm already living my dream. Why? Because I have two really cool people that I'm working on a podcast with. I know currently low budget, we're using my pot plans,
we're the spot people and the catering.
Yeah.
and the people doing our own makeup. But hey, that's I love it.
I love it.
So
passionate.
I love it.
I want to live a passionate life.
And we've been working on this for a while. I think this is one thing that surprises me. I think the one behind the camera will also agree to this. That we've been working on this for a while, but we are still,
Months.
yeah, months, but we're still as
Excited about it.
excited and looking forward to it. Like the fire hasn't died down. And
Which is my issue with A Good Life on Paper, because A Good Life on Paper, when people do not authentically resonate with the path that's laid out for them, the passion has to die.
Yeah.
You have to become a robot.
At one point of time, I was afraid of the word passion. I was legit afraid because for me, because the truth is, I had suppressed my own passions to such a degree that the word passion, the way I used to define it, it used to scare me because I used to associate it with eccentric extremism.
Oh, yeah.
And I used to like, there's a side to passion which is very fiery, which is very volatile, and I used to only stick to that. I'm like, okay, passion maybe not for me. Uh, so compassion, but not passion.
I used to think people who followed their passion were privileged. Passion for me was a privilege. It wasn't like an everyday thing, but that's not true, bro. I'm passionate about pickles. And every time I eat something
Injung, I can second that.
So, and I think that's the other thing about now talk about A Good Life on Paper in the whole self-development space, in the space of the alternative. I think there's too much emphasis placed on what is my purpose? What is my passion? Wait, sometimes your passion can be just small everyday things. It could just be like, oh, this new bottle of skincare cream, like if you're passionate about taking care of yourself. Okay, I'm using the word passionate a little too much now, but it's just about living a satisfactory life, I feel.
And as far as A Good Life on Paper goes, I had come to a point in my life because, the first half of my life, if I could call it like that, generally, I have manifested a lot of things out of sheer will and stubbornness, and because, like, with a lot of fighting spirit. And there was a point of time where everything broke down, where the rug was pulled under my carpet, which we will talk about later in another episode. But after that point, that system of manifesting just didn't work. Through hard work, through focus, through consistency, through structure, it stopped working for me. And out of the kindness of the universe, is what I like to say it, I had to recondition myself to take it easy, which was ironically the hardest thing for me to do. I had by then, through hard work and determination and resilience and consistency, I had achieved a PhD in psychology. I had a job that was very convenient, comfortable. Yes, I was not married because literally that, we took a U-turn before that. A lot of stuff happened in my life where I realized that, okay, this shit isn't working. By then, I'd already got The Good Life on paper. That's my point. So,
and was it a good life?
It felt like a good life after I moved out of the crisis. I still had the job. I had a counseling. I had clients that I loved and cared about deeply. I loved my students. My HOD loved me. I loved her. And it was very easy. I had a house, not my own, but I had a house where like a lot of things were sorted and taken care of, other than the spouse business. And by then I had realized I don't need a spouse. I was in that space of like, I'd found all sorts of connections within myself. And I was like, that's it. I'm good. So I had ticked off that, but that's when my new life started, which led me to here.
Yeah, true.
That is what Nandini just said. That what does a good life look for you now?
Yeah,
that's how I came here.
Sounds good. Yeah, I would urge you that when you're thinking about what is a good life on paper now for you, know that what you write down can change. It can shift. Because me too, like this month, I have been living in this beautiful space, beautiful home, and I wished so much to be in this place back when I was going through some very rough times a few years ago, right?
Yeah.
But recently, and I felt so bad for feeling this way, but I felt like I was just getting really bored of living the good life every day.
Yes.
So this is where, like, part of us being human, we need those ups and downs. We need to feel dissatisfied in order for us to reveal what will satisfy us. And I think it can always be something as small as, what would satisfy me? I want to make a batch of homemade cookies, that could satisfy me today. And even that is valuable. But sometimes like with me, I'm like, you know what? I'm very tired of doing this job. I think what would satisfy me would be a different job. And that's what we're doing today, you know? Granted, not getting paid yet. Sponsors, we're looking at you. You come at us, right? But but this is satisfying. And we have to take steps in a very achievable way. So
I would like to also answer in the most honest way that I can to the question that what is my good life on paper? Like, what am I manifesting basically?
yeah,
I don't know what it's going to look like. I keep saying that all the time. I don't know on the outside what it's going to look like, but I know one thing is very crucial for me, which I naturally pursue, is I do like this sort of motion, but I also want this, you know? So I want this stability and safety where I can rest and center and enjoy whatever I've manifested so far. But I also like to stretch and go beyond. So I need that, you know, I need the spiral, the consistent growth. Yes, absolutely. Yes. Absolutely. The cyclic nature of things.
Yeah.
I have finally accepted it and also enjoy it. Sometimes it's initiated by myself. Sometimes it's just life. Does it for me. But also, I have realized that we don't always know what we want in life. So sometimes it is functional and helpful to go through life from what we have absorbed from around us, you know. Once I know what I don't want, I get clearer about what I do want.
So you're saying like follow the path that's laid out for you until you realize you actually have to step away.
Yes, it's not working because that's in a
that's
way
realistic.
Yeah.
And that's what I've done.
Yeah,
That's
because
what you've done.
it's like the path of least resistance.
Yeah.
You know, I had suppressed after class 10, I wanted to study drama. Long story short, it didn't work out like that. You know, I wanted to pursue that life, but psychology chose me. So I went ahead with it, and it's worked out in my favor in a different way, in a way that I couldn't have imagined.
Yeah.
So sometimes that's how things can happen. I'm mostly confused people. Okay. But my life's fine, you know, and I'm almost every day, there's so much uncertainty that I process. I cry sometimes, you know, I'm bawling, I'm looking at the ceiling, I'm like, what is happening? So even though there is a part of me that says that I will never regret the choices I've made in my life. I will never, all the leaps of faith that I've taken, I'll never regret it. But at the same time, I go through shit. I do. We all do. And I think it's healthy to acknowledge it. Yeah. So you might find what is a good life for you after you go through someone else's version.
So this is where I have this thing. One thing we haven't really addressed is how we perceive other people's good life on paper.
Yeah.
Right? Because in our culture, there's so much comparison that happens all the time. So
Sharma ji ka beta.
Sorry. Right? Or your cousin, like, oh, he did this. How come you can't do this? He doesn't even have this, but he managed to achieve this, but you can't, right? So there's always this comparison that happens. But what I have come to realize, and I've realized this at every occasion, there's no exception. Sometimes I meet a stranger, usually a woman, and on paper, her life is perfect, absolutely perfect, right?
Yeah.
But I also meet, and I think we all do this, but there's this mask that we put on of everything is fine, everything is great. I'm living very, very abundantly.
Yes, I am.
But I also have this, I don't know, this natural ability to like sometimes to instantly connect with people, I guess. And so as soon as we sit down, that's when they're like, well, actually, my husband, a stream of negativity, my in-laws, a stream of negativity, I myself, a stream of negativity, and so that's when that illusion shatters and I see this person is so deeply dissatisfied with their life, you know, and that's the trick. It's like, yes, we have to feel dissatisfied to make a change. But also, in order to even do that, you need to know who you are and respect who you are enough to make that change, you know?
But also to know who you are, you also have to paradoxically go through what you don't know.
Yeah.
That's the best part.
The thing that frustrates me is like when people feel like that's it, they're fated to just being depressed the whole time.
That's a choice though. Like according to me, that's a choice. Like,
it is a choice, but people don't realize it's a choice. And that's what this podcast is about. It's like, it's me telling you, if you've tried therapy, if you've tried like, couples counseling and you've tried all these things and it's still not working, get a divorce. Okay?
I don't know who this person is, by the way. I don't know. I just met them
Me?
5 minutes back.
Me.
Yeah.
Bro, I'm a big advocate for divorce. If you had a childhood like mine, come on. But yeah, and I think actually half the people no, almost every single person I know who's married should probably get a divorce, honestly. Uh, okay, I'm sounding really, really jaded, obviously. But I'm just saying you really have to know that you're not stuck in misery the whole time. What you choose to do is what you choose to do. I'm not saying you gotta choose like a cut off option.
Yeah.
And also that
You
is
will
not
find
good.
your own way, that your own system, something that feels true to you.
I feel really bad now for being like divorce, divorce. No,
No,
no.
sometimes, no, okay, honestly, sometimes it divorce brings freedom. And if it's bringing a better life,
A better life.
a
That's
better
the word.
life for the people who are in a marriage, then I feel it also serves the people around you. Because a lot of times the guilt that is given to the couple, or the thing that they have to go through, is like, oh, what will happen to the kid? Yes, things will be different, but sometimes separating creates a better environment in general. Things will be different, and you will have to get used to a lot of new things for the child as well. But that's something we can't tell you.
Any piece of advice anyone gives, including me, obviously, it's almost like pointless because humans are so adaptable. We can deal with anything. We can deal with the worst of misery and survive. We can deal with the greatest happiness and immediately fall and crash. So similarly, like life is nothing but a series of choices.
Yes.
And a good life on paper is limiting you to only one choice sometimes.
Yes. Oh, that was like, that's so good.
So please explore beyond the page that is laid out for you. Whenever you can, in a way, I always advocate for a financially sensible way, in a way where you're not going to hurt yourself or anyone else, but experiment with life. That's what we're here to do.
Yeah. I'm living a completely unsettled life, but I would choose this any day because I know what it brings to me.
Shall we
Just
cheers?
like
What
that.
should we cheers to today?
I drank all my peppermint tea, but we'll cheers anyway. Sorry.
So cheers to writing our own stories. Yes.
I'm not going to say anything after that. I mean, they're just totally acing it today. Cheers.
See you in the next one.